Hello, hello. Welcome to my channel. My name is Emmy from Emmy Evolving. If this is your first time joining me, thank you for finding me. If this is not your first time, thank you for coming back. So, apologies, we are so super duper late. I'm going to bring my co host up here on the screen. Hi.
Hi,
Well,
an adventure.
no,
Thank you.
it's been an absolute adventure. So, that's fine. It's not going to stop us.
No, it won't.
We have some very, very interesting things to talk about today. And I think our subject matter is the very thing that um, stuff doesn't want us to talk about these types of things. And, we're still going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it because we're led to talk about it. And that's just that. That's just that. We had so many technical issues, so many. Just to share, my laptop completely deleted my speakers, my onboard speakers, like literally a minute before we were to come live. So this is definitely going to be an intense conversation. I'm ready to talk. Ocean lover, are you ready?
I am ready. You know what? I'm even more than ready now because you do something like that to us. When you said, there was some time ago, you said when someone wants to silence you, speak louder.
Yes.
Okay, here we
Yes.
go.
Here we go. So, when I asked you what you wanted to talk about this week, you went ahead and you said that you were inspired by some of the questions. So, we're going to be talking about galactic communications, alien encounters, and alien implants. The aliens don't want us to talk, girlfriend.
I see, but they got the wrong too.
Right. They thought, they
That's
didn't
right.
think.
They thought like lit. All right.
Hmm.
So, guys, I'm very excited to be here today. Emmy, thank you so very much for having me, as always. I do appreciate that. Good morning. The very best to you all, Soul family. We are so excited to have you all with us today. As Emmy was letting you know, this is going to be a very, very special talk. And we weren't actually going to do a part two, but in the exclusive chat, someone asked if we would do a part two. And in addition to my being inspired with the person asking, we're like, hey, let's do it. So let's do it. Are you ready, Emmy?
I'm ready. I'm
Okay.
ready.
All right. So, as Emmy was telling you about some of the things we'll be discussing, we are definitely going off the beaten trail today. Are you all okay with that, Soul Fam? If so, let's get a hashtag off the beaten trail. All right.
I love your hashtags, by the way. I
Thank
love the
you.
hashtags you think of. It almost like it's priming me to dive deeper into whatever it is you ask me. When you have them do the hashtags, I'm just
Oh,
like every
wow.
time I see it, eggs me on. You guys, I'm like I'm gonna say more. I'm gonna say more.
Wow. Oh,
All right.
y'all hear that, Soul Fam? So it's egging Emmy on. That's a good thing. All right. So on last week, as we are discussing, our episode on mediumship covered the basics of what mediumship is and how those gifts and abilities manifest. The focus was primarily on communication with humans who have passed on. This week, however, in part two, we will continue with our discussion on mediumship. But wait, there is more. Did you realize that galactic communication and interdimensional communication are also forms of mediumship? I didn't really think about that until last week as Emmy was talking. So, if you're not sure what either or both of those mean, don't worry. I share with you the words of a song that my mother tends to sing. Hold on, help is on the way. Can I get a hashtag? Hold on, help is on the way.
Ooh.
All right. So I'd like to start with asking a question. So, fam, what are your ideas about galactic and interdimensional communication? In your own words, what do those things mean? As you put those things in the chat, I'd like to just give you a brief overview of the format for today's session. So, for the first 60 minutes or so, we'll be having an interview with Emmy on multidimensional communication, ET encounters, and more. 30 minutes after that, for the whole 30 minutes or so, we're going to open the floor for a Q&A discussion. All right. So if you have any questions, anything that you've always wanted to know, this is the time. This is the day. And wait, there's more. After the party, there's an after party. After the party, there's an after party. I don't really like that song so much, but I want to let y'all know about that exclusive chat. How many of you know about that, fam? In the chat, do you know about that exclusive chat? I'm telling you, our exclusive chats always follow the Soul Sanctuary podcast. And you can find that at www.thesoulsanctuary.love. I know that Lindsay is in the chat, and I know she's going to put it in there. It's good stuff. All right, then. And then,
Ooh,
go ahead.
really quick. Everyone or several people have said that we need to speak louder.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right. Is that a little better out there?
can you guys hear us better? Let's see if can you guys hear us better now? Let me
Testing,
just breathe.
testing.
I
1, 2,
know.
1, 2. My mic sounds nice. Check one. All
Oh
right.
man.
Does
All right. I
anyone
think they can hear us
hear us?
better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. So, Emmy, are you ready?
Oh, yes, I am.
Okay. So, this is a three-part question. What is meant by galactic? What is meant by interdimensional? And what is meant by galactic and or interdimensional mediumship?
So, galactic, first and foremost, it's pertaining to anything and everything that's outside of the earth plane. Okay. Outer space, planetary things, celestial things. That's what galactic often refers to. If you were to look up the definition, it refers to things that are referencing galaxies. And so it's a very basic definition. But what we do with that is really what sets it apart. When you enter into this space of galactic mediumship, you're allowing yourself to speak to these outer planetary beings. You're allowing yourself to receive the messages, to communicate, all of that good stuff. Now, when people talk about interdimensional, this gets a little bit interesting more than just the basic galactic, because now you're talking about traveling through the interstitial spaces of existence. You're talking about interdimensional, like in between the dimensions, as well as the other dimensions that exist. Humans are third dimensional beings, and that's pretty much what we're aware of unless we're tapped into our intuition. Now, when you talk about inter galactic, that's obviously other galaxies, right? Not just our galaxy, not just, the Lyrans, Pleiadians. You're talking about something beyond that. When you're talking about interdimensional, I mean, this can involve time travel. This can involve, and it often does, the folding of the fabric of creation. This is where you can get these transmissions from beings that are human, but they come from another time or space. They come from the future, they come from the past. Interdimensional mediumship also involves communication with your ancestors, communication with the fae, the fairies, communication with dragon beings, like so many different things. And we don't realize that that's what it is because, it's allegedly here on the earth plane. But really, who has seen a fairy? Who has held a fairy? I know I have, but I also know that the human eye has a really hard time seeing it in real life. Oh my gosh, I actually have a video. I have a video. Um, let me get to it. 1 second here. I'll show you guys. I'll share this screen. Um, hold on. How would I get to this? Um, let me get the web page itself. Hopefully it loads. Yes, it did load. All right. I'm going to share this screen with you guys and you guys will be able to see. So I do actually have the ability to communicate interdimensionally, galactically, all of that. So lucky. Things always talk to me. It's ridiculous. But this is the first time that I was able to actually um, take this little snippet of video and let other people see it. Sherry was the one, Sherry's in the comments. She was the one that privately messaged me after the live stream. And she's like, I could see Pedro. And Pedro's talking to me. I didn't realize he got recorded, but he was talking to me. So let me, oops, what did I do? Here we go. So this is Pedro. Let me take the stuff off the screen really quick so that way you guys can see the video. He was in my ear. He was in my ear. Oh, hold on. Yeah, he was in my ear talking to me. And I was like, oh my God. And you could see that he,
Oh, that's precious.
so I don't know if you guys in the audience could see it. He was in my ear giving me information. And I was like, oh my God. And then he flew out because in my head, I'm like, stop talking, stop talking. And so he flew away. And a lot of people think that Pedro is some made up thing. Like, I'm not joking. This fella followed me home from Peru.
Oh.
He's an actual fairy, an interdimensional being who followed me home from Peru. He found me because of my glycolic peel pads. He
Oh.
hid them. He hid them from me while I was in Peru. Yeah. So, I mean, it's interdimensional is a very, very fascinating subject matter because this is something that we can actually experience here on Earth without having any abilities to experience things. It's just stuff that we're sensitive to.
Wow. Thank you so much. And I didn't know you were going to make me just blush on screen. I just love Pedro. I don't know why, guys, but every time I hear about Pedro, I just get so happy, so giddy. I love him. So, all right now, fam, that was a lot of interesting information. Who is really enjoying this out there? You all learning a lot? I am. I really am. So now I want to know who wants to veer over, off, even more off the beaten path? Who wants to get off the beaten path even more? Y'all ready? We're going to go even farther off the beaten trail. How common are ET encounters, Emmy?
Ooh, you guys, they're very common.
Mm.
They are very, very common. Most of us don't realize that we are being contacted, we are being touched, we are experiencing these things. Sometimes people will feel it as like a gentle touch on the skin. Sometimes people will experience kind of just a sense of some type of thought that they don't realize is a communication. It's actually a communication. They think that they're just randomly thinking about something. um there's visuals of events or objects that they're trying to get your attention, or they're trying to get you to focus on. Just so many different things. Most of us have had at least one experience, most of us. And here's the thing. Alien is just something that's foreign. There are interdimensional as well as galactic species that live on Earth. There are shapeshifters. There are all sorts of different things. Now, I know several people who their eyes are different. There's something different about their eyes. And I remember I was observing quietly, and I'm heavily cloaked. So most people, in real life, they don't realize how many abilities I have. I'm very, very quiet in real life. I don't talk about anything to anyone. And I remember I was observing this person, and they have lighter colored eyes. And I got curious. And so I kind of flooded our space with frequency. but I cloaked where it came from. I didn't make it known it was coming from me. And I was just looking at them, and their eyes became like slits. And I just quietly looked away, like no big deal. But in my mind, I was like, I knew it. I knew it. Yeah. So I've seen things like that with my own eyes. I have. I've seen people who have the ability to open portals, small portals, and they'll disappear. I've seen that as well. I've seen videos. I've seen it in real life as well. I've seen animals do this. So our interaction with alien things, it's very common. It's much more common, especially as we're rising in our own frequencies, and we're becoming much more sensitized to the awareness that these things are happening. You just look at social media and you'll see so many videos, right? So many. It's a lot more common than we want to think, because it's uncomfortable. It's a little bit scary. We don't know what it is. We don't know if we're in danger. It's common. Most of
Mm.
us are not in danger. Most of us, just observe it, see it, and then that's that. It's a cool story to have, but that's about it. You're not going to get abducted. Aliens don't necessarily have just free reign. They do have to operate within specific parameters. Most of us don't know what those parameters are, but they do have to operate within specific parameters. They do have a hierarchy between the galactic races, and they like to stay within that order. Yeah.
Wow. That is much more than I figured that I would get from asking that question. But I am so happy. Wow. So, fam, you still in this journey with us? Does anything resonate with any of you out there? I would love to know that. You know what, Emmy? I'm going to kind of change it up a little bit. I'm going to use an example, right? In a 2012 interview, the artist Lupe Fiasco shared that he'd experienced an extraterrestrial encounter when he was about 12. He also shared that he believed that during the course of the encounter, something had been implanted in his ankle. What can you tell us about alien implants? Are they visible to the unaided eye? Also, how are they implanted? And what is the objective of these implants? What is the objective of whoever is implanting these implants?
So implants are a real phenomena. There are plenty of people who believe they've been implanted. I have someone who I personally know, and this was before they understood the level of my sensitivities and abilities. And she was sharing with me, these are people I went to high school with, and we're full grown adults at this point. She's sharing with me that she thinks her husband is an alien, and I'm like cracking up. I'm like, why would you say that? And she says he has an antenna on his head. And then that's when I stopped laughing, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And she said that there's some sort of something under his skin in his scalp. It looks like a cluster of hairs that grow out of that one, and it looks like almost like someone put a piece of rice under his skin. And I was like, have you tried to extract that? Have you tried to squeeze it out like a zit? And if I remember right, she had tried, but nothing had come out.
Mm.
So it definitely was not a zit. It wasn't some sort of cyst or anything like that. She tried so hard and nothing would come out. And I guess sometimes he would feel sensations there. And I don't remember for sure if she was saying he was having visuals whenever he would feel the sensations.
Mm.
But that was my first experience with someone in real life having that. That was in my like mid 20s. Over the years with my clients, I've seen quite a few. Some of them have been addressed during live streams where I picked up on not just a physical implant. Most people will have a physical implant, and you can feel it. Usually feels like there's something under your skin. Excuse me, something very, very small. Most people will have that type of implant, and it's typically just beneath the surface of the skin on the appendages, like your arms, your legs, your feet, your hands, things like that. Sometimes your scalp. Now, some of the things that I've noticed because of the elevation in my sensitivity have been etheric implants where they're not physical. They're just a clumping together of etheric coating, and those are usually embedded in the cranial space inside the brain. And those are much more questionable. They are much more difficult to remove. You have to be very, very aware of the surrounding tissues when you're removing. Even if it's etheric, you can still affect the brain tissues. So those I've seen those and I've addressed them. Why would they be put in? Well, several things. So some species will do this in order to just kind of, run tests or monitoring on the vitals of the person. Like they'll initiate certain types of life events and they want to monitor how you react, your vitals, your brain function, all of that. Other reasons are they want to keep tabs on you physically. They want to geolocate you. That's usually if they're abducting you. Okay. I know this sounds all crazy me talking about this, but that's really why else would they want to geolocate you? Because they're going to abduct you again. Um, Now, the other reason would be to monitor your thoughts or to incept the thoughts themselves. Depending on the type of person and the reasoning for the implant. I mean, I've come across someone who not only did they have an implant in a very, very like difficult place to clear within the brain, there was a secondary implant and it was heavily cloaked, and I saw it's almost like a string that connects it to a secondary implant that's placed on the brain stem. That I was like, no, no, we're not doing this on a live stream. Because if there's a secondary implant, it's like in terms of explosives. Someone has some type of explosive vest on, and you're going to try and deactivate that vest. But then you see there's another connection that if you go ahead and deactivate that, it's going to trigger the second trigger. So when I begin to see things on a brain stem, there's really one reason. You're trying to control the body, in particular, the parts of the body that are automatic, uh, heart, breathing, things like that. I call that a kill switch. That's a big no no. That's a very, very big no no. So, there's plenty of reasons why they would put implants, but it just depends. What do they want with you? What are they trying? What's their objective using you in particular? Most people will not experience those types of implants. Those are some pretty extreme cases that I'm talking about, but I have seen in person as well as dealing with clients, assisting my clients. Implants are a real phenomenon. I have witnessed that myself.
Mm. Whoa. So, who is so deep that you probably are looking at submarines right now? You're looking at sharks and all of that stuff right now. This is really deep. Probably even mer people right now. So different. Wow, that's so deep. So, we discussed implants, and I want to ask you some more things about that. But I want to know first, are implants and seals the same thing? If not, what's the difference between these two things?
So implants are more of an individual thing. They have some sort of agenda or objective with that specific individual. And when I say they, I'm talking about an extraterrestrial species. Okay. Something that's not human, that is not terrestrial. Seals, on the other hand, that affects every living being on the planet. Seals, they're energetic codes that serve as encryptions, and they were placed in specific regions of the world. The reason seals were placed by a more advanced species is to interfere with our planetary ascension cycles. There's this thing that goes on every, I don't know, several thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. There are stellar activation cycles. And this is when stargates will dilate and it will flood the Earth plane with all of this frequency. And we're a hybridized species. If we're flooded with that frequency, we then accelerate in our ascension mechanics. We then reach higher levels of dimensional consciousness, etheric function, all of those things. You become extremely difficult to control when you exist at a higher dimensional plane of existence, higher dimensional logic, perception, all of that. So, me, I'm naturally at a resting frequency that's extremely high. what are the odds of you being able to coerce me into doing something that I feel is not in alignment with my integrity and truth? Slim to none. I'd literally rather die. I mean, like, just kill me now. Like, I'm not going to do it. I refuse. And so that's what they want to prevent. They being the malignant galactic races that have basically enslaved humanity for quite some time now. So they place these seals. There's quite a few different seals. The most common and the one that affected us the most are the Jehovian seals. Now, I want to make very clear, I'm not trying to say anything derogatory about people who participate in Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm not talking anything about some religion on earth, okay? That's just what these seals are called, Jehovian seals. They're also sometimes referred to as death seals. These encryptions, there's 7 of them on the human body. They were to prevent the planetary system itself, the planetary grid, Gaia, from rising up in her dimensional consciousness. Now, because of the laws of reciprocal reflection, anything that exists on her surface will mirror her condition. Whatever is going on the surface will be taken in by her and mirrored back. So that's kind of the law that they used and exploited, basically, to try and prevent all of us from ascending higher. There's other types of seals as well, Zeta seals, Templar seals, so many different types of seals that are in place. And it's really up to us what we want to do with this. Do we want to clear it? In doing so, you'll be able to flood your frequency flood your field with much more frequency. That can help to clear more blockages. That can help you to run higher levels of frequency. It's just a really, really beneficial thing. But, again, are you ready to? Because that will definitely activate more of your abilities if you're flooding your field with more frequency. For those of us who, like I was years ago, I was deathly afraid of my abilities. I tried to take classes to turn them off. I mean, obviously it didn't work, right? But that was not something that I would have benefited from at the time when I was that afraid. So it depends on how ready you are, okay? It just depends on how ready you are. If you're ready, then and for sure you are, not just, it'd be cool to have this done, then yeah, have it done. Definitely. Not everyone has a capacity to remove the death seals, Jehovian seals. Not everyone has a capacity to do that, but a lot of people will claim they do. You have to be able to reach specific tritonal frequency bands in order to decommission those seals and remove them. So you guys be careful who you go to for these sessions, okay? Granted, I'm not the only one who can do these things, but it's hard to find someone who can operate at my level and have the same level of integrity as well, because there's a lot of money to be made if you can do these things, a lot. And that usually will corrupt someone and kind of distort their integrity. So just be careful who you guys work with, okay? You're free to work with whoever, but be careful. Be very, very careful, especially in these times. Be very careful.
Absolutely. We really appreciate that. Definitely. You're right. You have to be careful. Um, we talked a little bit about being able to address some of those things as far as implants and seals. You let us know that in your profession, you do encounter clients who have these implants or seals, and you're able to assist with them, I've gathered, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that brings me to one of my favorite parts. I mean, you know that I love to ask about services because you have so many different ones. You can look on the site and there are just so many. I might not be familiar with everything that's on there, but it's always great to learn. And I always love to ask. So this is the part where I get to pick your brain, like really get to pick your brain about any specific services. I would like to know, are there any specific services that you have that offer the removal of implants and or unnatural seals?
Yes. So I do have a service called J Seal removal, and that the J Seal is the Jehovian seal. I removed, I shortened Jehovian to J Seal because I want to be mindful of people's, religious practices. I don't want to be disrespectful in any way with that. Whether or not I'm religious, that's irrelevant. Everyone deserves to have their religious practice respected. Now, I also have the Zeta seal removal. The Zetas, those little buggers, they they had to get in on the action. This has to do with your fourth chakra, and it keeps you stuck in this earth plane. The Zetas, they're a species that are about the size of a young um, a child, basically like slightly larger than a toddler. And they answer to the reptilians, who then answer to the draconians, who then answer to things we don't want to talk about. And, a lot of what they do is to really, really interfere with your understanding through the implementation of fear, through trauma, all of those different things. Zetas, they went ahead and they tampered with their own genome, and they were after immortality. They wanted to become immortal. And what they ended up doing was corrupting their own code to the degree where they're basically an endangered species at this point. They can't procreate. They kind of are just biding time. And that's why they are involved in so many testings, so many people being affected, abducted. If I can, I want to share a story about Zetas. One of my girlfriends, this is one of the first times that I allowed someone to understand the gravity of what I can do. And she's so kind and so gracious. And I distinctly remember I was talking to her. Well, we were texting. And I was like, "Girl, there's something on your property." And she's like, "What?" And I was like, "There's Zetas on your property and Michael's mad." And she stops texting for a little bit and she goes, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Michael's on your roof right now and he's going to F stuff up." And so she tells me later on, when I said there were Zetas at her house and that they were watching her through the window, she was by her kitchen window and she could hear what she kind of described it as like the sound of a family of raccoons all in her, plants and bushes and stuff running around to the other side of the house. And so she went outside and she could hear tons of movement. And suddenly there was just tremendous amounts of wind. And when I said, "Michael's there, he's mad," she said she heard a big thud on her roof, like something was there. And I was just like, "Yeah, no, they're trying to access you." And she was just like, "Oh my gosh." Yeah. Before I started all of that, I was like, "There's a mothership over your house. There's a mothership over your house. Something's trying to access you." And she was describing she could feel like something was pulling her up. And I was like, "Oh, no, no, don't let them pull you up. Those are Zeta. They're not good. They're not good." And, she's kind of fearless in her most gentlest energies. She's still fearless. And she's like, "No, it's fine." It's like, "No, girl, don't go away. They're watching you through the window." And I mean, even to this day, she still remembers that. It's one of those things where people misunderstand. They're malignant. They're malignant. They will do as they are instructed by the reptilians, by the draconians, and those, they don't care about humans. Humans are chattel to them. They are livestock, and so they don't care. I have another friend who he was out in the Sonoran Desert, and he's like a metal worker, no, a glass blower. That's what he is, a glass blower. And he was blowing glass outside of his RV. He was kind of boondocked, and the sun was starting to set from what he said. And so he decided to finish off what he was doing, put everything away. He went into his RV and he was in the bedroom area, and he heard something enter his RV. And so he turns around and he looks, and there's this huge, looks kind of like an alligator, a crocodile standing there, a humanoid crocodile. And before he could say anything, he got punched in the face and knocked out. And that was his experience with draconians. And I was just like, "Oh wow, what did they want?" He goes, "I don't know. I was knocked out until the morning." He didn't wake up until sunrise, and everything was locked in his RV at that point. So He doesn't know what happened, but he knows he did not imagine that. And I was like, yeah, no, you didn't. Those are draconians. He goes, those bastards. I was like, right. So going back to the services, the Zeta Seal removal is another one that I do. And then there's the Death Seal and Blood Covenant clearing. That removes the remaining seals that are in your field. That one is extremely potent, as well as all the others. You got to make sure, though, whatever's happening in your energy, in your life, that you're understanding what is actually happening. We are not to move in fear. Excuse me. That's so important. Like, if you're going to purchase a session from me, it's because your intention is to correct whatever is wrong, not because you're deathly afraid and someone has to save you. And oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. There's nothing to be afraid of in that sense. Okay. You will be fine. You will have the support that you need when you're ready to have that support. So there's nothing you guys need to be afraid of. I know some of these stories and some of the things that I'm saying can cause people to feel very afraid. I'm telling you right now, you don't have to be afraid. When I was in like third grade, second or third grade, I distinctly remember I was sleeping. And then I woke up and I was paralyzed. And then the walls to my house became transparent. My bedroom was on the second floor. And I began to notice that there were these things that were coming towards the walls. They were hovering on the second floor outside of the house, and they were preparing to enter into the house. And then I heard some disembodied voice say, "Not this one. You're not allowed with this one." And suddenly all my walls became very opaque once again, and I could move my body. And I was like, that was a weird dream. Now looking back, something was planning to abduct me, and Michael was like, no, no, not this child. This one I'm taking care of. So, I've learned you don't have to be afraid. Your thoughts will make you very afraid, but do you really have to be afraid? Probably not. Probably not. Most of us will never experience anything that would justify that level of fear. Most of us. Most of us. There are some who are regularly abducted. Mm, It's not good, but that's not as common as we like to think. It's not as common, especially now. It's not as common.
Mm. Whoa, that's deep. That's deep, 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 deep. Wow. And I am just over here like, ooh, I'm just listening to everything and bam, is it just me? Or are you all the same way out there? How are you all taking all of this information in? Oh wow. Emmy, I
Mhm.
have another question
Okay.
because we talked about your services and everything. And I wanted to ask you, because you're speaking of not being afraid and being energetically empowered as well as emotionally, mentally, what have you, on all levels. Do you also teach any courses that help people learn to remove implants or learn to address these seals?
Yes, yes. Actually, my weekly membership, the Kokoro 33 membership, that's an ongoing weekly class that I teach. And I've actually taught quite a few courses or classes on this topic in particular. I actually have. Um, I also, I would not be against having a little workshop where we can talk about all of this galactic stuff. I'm not opposed to that. Yeah. A lot of people ask me, when's my next workshop? What workshop am I going to do next? And I'm kind of hesitant to kind of just decide, oh, okay, let me do this workshop and that. The reality is, if people let me know that there is a want or a need
Yeah.
for that type of learning, I'm not opposed to that. I'm opposed to workshops when it's me kind of dictating, like, this is what you're learning next, to me, that's kind of like, ew, who do I think I am? But if people let me know, like, hey, it would really help if you were willing to teach this type of subject, I'm willing to.
I love that. And no, you're never the type that's like, you will learn this. You will not pass.
Gandalf.
Until you learn. Yeah. Right. So it's wonderful. And I think that is a great thing, fam. I'm so glad you said that, Emmy, because I have lots of ideas about workshops that I would love to see, and I'm sure that I'm not the only one. I know that there are a lot of things that I feel that I, as an individual, could benefit from. And even as I listen to how a lot of us have the same stories, and a lot of us just have so many, I would say, dots that just connect so well. I'm like, wow, it would be good if we could do this on a collective level, all of us at the same time. So thank you for saying that, because now I want to know what kind of workshops everybody would like to see. I know some things I would like to see. Um, and I'm not going to really ask too many more questions because I see that the chat is active, and it feels like a lot of people have things that they've experienced and they would like to discuss. So at this time, I'm going to ask you two more questions, and
Okay.
then I'm going to just go ahead and allow myself to witness this great question and answer discussion that's going to take place. So, what I'd like to first ask is, are there any resources, videos, books, etc., that you found to be helpful along your journey of understanding galactic and or multidimensional communication slash mediumship? If so, would you like to share any with the audience?
Yes. So one of the first and really the only that I've allowed myself to kind of tap into, this body of work by Dolores Cannon. She's a very, very talented, talented woman, affected so many lives. And her work, she's a hypnotherapist. She was not planning to do this. That was not her plan from the start. No, she just was trying to do hypnotherapy. And what ended up happening, because of the type of soul that she has, and the mission, the purpose of her soul, a lot of her clients began to talk about galactic lifetimes, lifetimes where they were off planet. They would channel all sorts of different beings that are not on planet. And at first she was skeptical, but she began to realize, like, okay, this is a real thing. These are really like beings that are contacting. And she was never obtrusive. She was never someone who would violate her sacred space, but she definitely contributed so much to people's understandings of galactic races, of some of our timelines, and just amazing, amazing information. Her work I absolutely respect and cherish. Outside of that, I'm very skeptical. I'm
Mhm.
very, very skeptical. A lot of people think that I'm totally new age, and I'm just not. I'm not any of that. Unless I experience it myself, or unless my soul allows me to experience what you are talking about as though I'm living it with you,
Mhm.
I'm most likely not going to believe that, you know? So I have a very, very developed BS detector inside me.
Okay.
And
Yes.
so I'm not one who's like, I see a story online, it's like it's suddenly true. It's, proof. I'm just like,
Hmm.
I don't know about this. That
Yes.
don't feel right. I don't believe that.
Yes.
And that's the kind of person that I am. So, there's a lot of things that are going to be disseminated very soon. You guys have to be very, very careful. Okay. Ah,
Mm.
yes, I got it.
Now you
This is
know.
why they didn't want us to go live.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Wrong too. Respectfully.
So, Michael is asking me to be mindful of what I share at this point. Um, I am aware there are things that watch to try and gauge how much I'm willing to share with the public. Um, I'll stay within my boundaries for my safety. That's what he's asking me to do. Remain within your boundaries for your safety. All right, I will listen to that. But the exclusive chat that we're going to have right after this. That's my private platform. It's safe up in there. I will talk about it. I will talk
Yes.
about it for sure up in there.
Yes.
Here, just so I won't leave you with an incomplete thought, there are certain programs that are being run that you can find this information online if you want to find it. Just know it's a rabbit hole, though. It's going to make you go deep dive into a subject matter that's going to keep you basically hyper fixated for days on end. Just absolutely hyper fixated. And I don't recommend doing that unless you're ready to really understand the gravity of manipulation and deceit in the world,
Mm.
because this will really take you to a place that it's going to be hard for you to go back to seeing life the way you see it now once you become aware of this information. Okay.
Mm.
So that's just the only thing. I want you guys to be responsible in what you seek out, because just because you can seek it out does not mean it's something that will be beneficial for you to know. So be careful.
I appreciate that. And I hope that everyone in the chat can really respect the integrity that Emmy has, as well as not just concern for herself, but also for your safety, for everyone's safety also. It is important to exercise wisdom, everyone. I just want to say this, and I'm not going to stay on this, but remember, just because we can do something doesn't mean that we should. All right. So, with that, Emmy, my last question is, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, you can find me on my channel, Emmy Evolving, here on YouTube. You can also find me on Facebook. I have so many different groups and pages. Emmy Evolving, the Soul Sanctuary. We have Soulwork Synergistics. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me pretty much all social media. You can find me. The easiest way to reach me, email me at contact@emmyevolving.com. That's the easiest, most efficient way to reach me. On all of my websites, emmyevolving.com, soulworksynergistics.com, K33academy.com, and the soulsanctuary.love. You can see on those websites that there's a form for you to reach out. If you can't remember my email address, you can definitely reach out on those forms. It sends it to my team. And that's a really easy way to get in touch.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that information. I thank you so very much for your time and all your information on today, your kindness, your willingness to speak about these things with me and with everyone here. So, with that, I thank you for the honor. And we conclude the interview and we will open up the floor for the question and answer discussion.
There's one that I just realized I had put on the screen a few minutes ago. So she says, I've always been afraid of these kinds of stories, but I think it's because I don't know much about all of this. Knowledge is power. And yes, you absolutely hit the nail on the head. This is the very reason why we're doing the podcast to begin with. Just having this knowledge that, these are terms or concepts that you can search up on your own, and really go as deep as you want, or not go as deep as you want, and maybe you had enough just from the podcast. That puts the power back in your hands, absolutely does. And that's a very, very beautiful thing, and that's our goal, to make you feel empowered within your life. Okay, that's very, very important. And one of the easiest ways we can do this is by giving you access to information that will begin your journey to discover more information. So definitely keep looking for info, you guys. Don't stop here where it's like, well, Emmy said. Emmy could be wrong. I could be wrong, guys. I mean, granted, I'm speaking of my experiences. That's where my opinions are rooted in. Uh, but still, my interpretation of my experiences can be flawed. So definitely do your own, dig as deep as you want, and find the truth that you're looking for. Okay. Matthew says, I have clear memories of a repeat group of three hooded child sized zetas. Child sized beings showing up in my bedroom as a child. The fear was so intense, I would try to run but would lose my consciousness. So,
Mm.
zetas are highly telepathic, and they can they can project certain type of frequency, kind of like a dolphin. They can project that frequency using thought forms to interfere with a lot of your bodily functions. Your bodily functions are controlled by electrical pulses that communicate through your nerves. And so that's kind of what people will experience when they experience interactions with zetas. They're about the size of a child. Um oh, wait. Esme, hey boo. Esme says, Emmy, can you please tell us about the blue beings? I dream that I have meetings with them. I can't remember what they tell me, but I have a feeling they're instructing me to do something on Earth. So there's different types of blue beings. You might be speaking about blue rays. You might be speaking about other galactic races. If you're holding meetings with them and you're not afraid and they're kind of telling you what you need to do on Earth, I'm assuming that the information is encrypted and you're not remembering it because your brain can be neurohacked. And so, that's very confidential information. I'm confident that you'll be able to retrieve that detail that you don't remember when you need to apply that information. Okay. So that's definitely super duper interesting. There's so many different types of beings. Blue ones have a tendency, okay, to be more benevolent. They tend to be much more helpful. But I mean, that's not always the case, and there's always mimics. If I were to say like all blue beings are benevolent, I would not I would not be surprised if a mimic, something demonic, would mimic a blue being just to get you to trust them. So I want to be careful about what I express and the way I express it. Lisa says, I've had dreams of people who have crossed over who I never met asking me to give people messages, people I know, and dream of angels a lot. Beautiful angel dreams. Sounds like you're having interdimensional contact. That's what that sounds like. Interdimensional, meaning family that's crossed over. And from the sounds of it, it's not your biological family, it's someone else's family. But family that's crossed over into the fourth dimensional plane and they're giving you messages to give to their family and friends, that's interdimensional. Angels are interdimensional. So that's super duper interesting. That's amazing. When people have an awareness of how their dreams are very special, it really will empower you, because as you dig deeper to understand that dream, you'll uncover more and more of the information you actually need in your waking life. And that's also important, because really part of how our soul communicates to us is by speaking to us in dreams, right? Just having those dreams, and we're in the dream, so we're not fighting the message, we're not distorting it, we're not telling ourselves we're imagining this and all of that other stuff. So that's super duper interesting. Let's see if there's any more questions. I want to say I had seen one further up.
Okay.
Oh, E Bunny, it's all starting to make sense. All these questions I had about myself, all these things I experienced, all the years I seriously thought I was crazy and making it all up. You know, there's one of the things that my medical professionals told me when I was much, much younger. Truly crazy people don't question if they're crazy. They don't. It's always people are accusing you. You're not crazy. Why are people trying to force you on medication and all of this and all of that? There's never this question of, oh my gosh, am I crazy? Am I making this up? Did I really experience that? That's not the logic of someone who has some type of mental pathology. And that's what my doctors told me, that I'm not crazy. I'm experiencing things that can't be quantified by modern society, modern science, modern medicine, but that doesn't negate the validity of what I'm experiencing. So it's super important for you guys to be able to differentiate between you experiencing something that you can't quantify and you kind of just being inspired to make up a story because you saw something online. Okay. Huge difference between them. Huge difference. Let's see. Shaman Renee. I've had astral dreams of cities that I've never been to, only to visit a place that was a city I dreamt of. Woo, I got goosebumps. I got goosebumps. Like, I see a city when I read that, and that's interdimensional from the sense that I get. Absolutely. Well, this is a question. Will any of this make us a target? I don't see how it could. I don't see how it could. Any of the information that could have made you a target, Michael effectively pressed the mute button on that. This is all of this information that I shared on this public live stream is information of a crazy conspiracy theorist. So because they've taken the credibility away, and if you talk about this, you're just a crazy conspiracy theorist. No, you should not be a target. Now, if you uncover information that they don't want disseminated, that will absolutely make you a target. Absolutely. Absolutely. Doesn't mean you can't uncover it, but if you begin talking about it freely, it depends on who wants you quiet. That would definitely not be good for you. So kind of just, be mindful. I found that when people uncover information, if they are very ego based, they have to tell everyone this information because they're seeking external validation, they end up regretting that. They really end up regretting that. And I have no fear of any of this subject matter because my ego actually works the opposite. So when it flares up, I'm not trying to get external validation. I get even more quiet. So I'm safer than safer. So just be careful, okay? Be careful if you're going to be talking about all kind of different things to all sorts of different people. I mean, there's some subjects that really should be saved for people you trust, not just random individuals. That goes for any information in your life. Are you going to go up to a stranger and tell them your social security number, your bank account, your passcodes, So just discernment. Discernment goes a long way in keeping people safe. Let's see.
Can I read one by Sochi?
Sure.
Okay. Sochi asks, how do you know if you have an implant?
Ooh. So, do you randomly have a scar on your body? Most implants will not leave a scar. Okay. Um, I was going to say how they would insert it without leaving a scar. I can talk about that in the private group. Remind me, Sochi. Remind me. But yeah, most people will not have a scar. For some, if the implant is big enough, you might suddenly have a scar that you don't remember having. For others, it might just be suddenly feeling like some sort of pimple or cyst under your skin. If you do feel something like that, don't be so quick to assume that it's an implant. It might actually be a pimple. It might actually be a cyst. It might actually be something you need to bring to your doctor to check out and make sure it's not some type of malignant growth. But those are some of the things. If you have blocks of time that are missing, that might be something, because that might be indicative of you being abducted, alien abductions. You can definitely start looking into information about that and, compare your experience with other people's experiences that have been shared. And if it's very similar, then you might want to talk to some of these people. You might want to reach out to certain groups, but be very careful about what of your personal information you share. It's one thing for someone who's already shared publicly information and you're just wanting to ask more about that publicly accessible information. And it's a whole nother thing to reach out to this person and tell them every intimate detail about you and compromise your safety. So again, it boils down to discernment. Use your discernment to figure out how much you want to tell someone. But a lot of people have shared their experiences online. You can join so many different forums, boards, groups on Facebook, all over social media. So many people, so many people. If you're thinking that you've had something happen, go check out those groups and see, and it might be like, no, I don't resonate with any of them. That's okay too. Because there are a lot of people in those groups who I kind of wonder. I kind of wonder about their safety, um, because their logic is not fully there, So use discernment. Definitely use discernment. Oh my gosh, that's what I put on the screen. Rainbow Flame says, I just received a crystal baby that I ordered from you, and it's definitely out of this world, an alien crystal baby. Rainbow
Wow.
Flames, is it Devik? Did you purchase something that in the title it's like Devik? I'm super curious what she got. um, let's see. Catherine says, I've been seeing some King of Bring outside my bedroom door for a while. It's like electricity. I just say, you stay out of my bedroom. Good. I mean, if it's something that is harmless for you, something that has no intentions of harming you, it will respect that. If it's malignant, it won't respect that. And then you'll know you need to react accordingly. Oh, some kind of being outside my bedroom door is what she wrote. Billy says, can you get implanted while awake and sleeping? You can get implanted whenever, but if you're awake, you'll know. You'll know. So typically, if you are awake, they will go ahead and suspend your awareness so that they can access you. They it's not that common for them to allow their target to remember fully. It's not very often. Some people will remember because their minds are much more rebellious, resistant to neurohacking. What they're doing is neurohacking you.
Mm,
Oh, Universal D says, I'd be waking up with random, like I've been attacked or was in a battle.
mm,
You might have some type of situation going on. You might. Oh, random scars.
okay.
Sheeman Renee says, I have heard that past lives deaths, some back a body mark or red spot on the back of the head. Past lives, injuries from past lives, especially if it's how you died, it'll leave a mark on your body for this life. It can. I know in one life, I was quartered by horses, and I have marks on my body, birthmarks that indicate that I was torn limb from limb. Yeah. Um, you know, it depends if you want to dig deeper into that or if you're okay with just leaving that alone. Most of that, like how you die, it's one of those like questionable things. Like, do you really need to know? Do you really want to know? Why do you want to know? So, yeah.
Mm,
Ooh, so Rainbow Flames got a code enhancer tower from me. Ah, that's probably one of the ones that
mm,
slept beside me.
mm,
Ah, oh my gosh. Um, ooh. Lisa says, while my brother is sleeping, he whimpers and lets out small cries like he's in a battle. It freaks me out. It will wake me up. Ooh, yeah, maybe.
mm,
Maybe he's dreaming about past life stuff or he's being accessed. It's hard to say. Matthew Evolution says, will Zetas give up contact because we resisted as children? Um, Even if you resisted as a child, if their objective was accomplished through you, depending on the level of efficiency they were able to do that, they might still continue to try and contact you. They really, really might. It just depends though. Tiffany says, nice, so nice to see you, ocean lover.
oh, thank you, Tiffany.
Does
I
it?
think it's everyone.
Ocean Lover has the most soothing voice. I
Oh,
love it. I love
thank
it.
you.
Um, Oh, here, Sherry says, I find that I will get extremely sleepy for no reason at all. When this happens, I clear my
Mhm.
field and anything around me. After that, I'm no longer sleepy. So sometimes, again, that neurohacking, sometimes Zetas will do that. Okay. Um, Less Zetas, more Draconian that uses that tactic.
May I ask you a
Um,
question?
uh-huh.
Okay, so I would like to know if these are topics that can be discussed in the exclusive chat, right? Um,
Ooh,
mhm.
yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
wonderful. So I'm just going to name a few, okay?
Okay.
Sleep paralysis with zetas,
Mhm.
beings cloning other or our organs, why these beings don't want us to ascend, um, chakras, frequencies as related to the things we're discussing. So if you all have had questions that really shouldn't be addressed here, please remember, if you are in that exclusive chat, you can ask those questions in the exclusive chat, okay? And
Yeah.
if you came a little late, please just kind of go back and you can hear the explanation. Emmy was saying it's really for the safety for herself and really for everyone's safety too, to really just be wise and use discernment in what we discuss and how we discuss it. Thank you.
Yes. Especially on this public forum. Um, there's enough information about us because of what we post and interact with on social media. And for some of us, depending on how much you publicly share about what you know, it becomes something that puts your safety in question. And I'm not saying this from a place of fear, I'm saying this from a place of discernment. There are certain things where if you can avoid it, might as well. Might as well. There's no,
Absolutely.
like, I don't need to prove that I know this or that, you know? So there's quite a few different topics that if you commented and you're part of the Soul Sanctuary, definitely please remind me. Excuse me, please remind me, and we'll talk about it during today's chat. So we're about out of time. Is there anything that you kind of want to bring up before we go, Ocean Lover?
No, I just want to say it's been wonderful. There's nothing else I would like to bring up. I am looking forward to the exclusive chat. Thank you all for your time. Thank you, Emmy.
You're welcome, and thank you for coming on. If you guys are not yet part of the Soul Sanctuary, please go to the soulsanctuary.love. If you want to sign up, that is for my private ministry area. No, I will not be indoctrinating you. It's just a place for all of us to kind of come together, a very sacred space, talk about important things to us in that moment, things that are on topic, some things that aren't on topic. And it's not a membership, it's a recurring contribution. This is one of the ways that you can regularly support the Soulwork Synergistics. It is, if you're in the United States, I just found this out. If you're in the United States, you can definitely use that. Whatever tier you select, you can use that receipt to have a tax deduction. Okay, but it's only in the U.S. As far as I know, it's not applicable to Canada and other countries. So it's an amazing way to support us in our work. And, I'll see you guys there very, very soon. I believe it's set for 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And with that, if you're already a member, you just hop on, go to the members home, and check the announcements bar. If you're not yet a member, you still have about 30 minutes to sign up and join us. There's so many different options, levels of tiers of contribution that you can select. Okay. So thank you again, Ocean Lover. This was an amazing talk.
Thank
I
you.
love you guys. We'll see you again next week. We're going to be coming live at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every Tuesday, barring any alien attempts to keep us from coming live.